I thought I was coming home to start a new life with my wife. But instead, I walked into a silence that screamed betrayal. She didn't just cheat. She disappeared. And what she didn't know was, I don't scream. I don't beg. I rebuild quietly and then I strike. Let's begin. The front gate clicked open with a soft metallic snap as Nathan Hale rolled his suitcase behind him, tired but oddly excited. He hadn't felt this particular sense of ease in years, maybe a decade. Not since he first signed the seed funding papers for Hale Grid Energy back in 2011. Now in 2023, 12 offices later, hundreds of employees, a rising global reputation in clean infrastructure. He was done, not retired, but ready to come home. Truly home. He had a surprise for his wife, Lena, and their 2 daughters, Sophie and Ella. He had decided mid-flight from London after finalizing the European launch of Hale Grid's 12th headquarters that he would tell Lena over dinner tonight. He was pulling back. No more 60-hour weeks. No more last-minute flights, working lunches. Early morning board calls while brushing his teeth. The world could wait. His girls couldn't. He smiled as he reached the porch. The house looked the same. Perfect landscaping. Warm porch lights glowing in the dusk. A pair of small scooters leaning against the wall. Familiar, safe. He pushed open the door, expecting the girls' laughter from the living room. Lena humming in the kitchen. Maybe the comforting scent of rosemary chicken, but instead nothing. Silence so thick and unnatural it felt staged. Lena, he called, dropping his keys into the dish by the door. Girls, no response, only the echo of his own voice bouncing off the walls. He walked farther inside, dragging his suitcase like an unwanted reminder of how long he'd been gone. The kitchen was spotless, almost eerily so. No pans drying, no plates in the sink, no signs of dinner in progress. The girls are normally cluttered. The counter gone, clean to the bone. A deep breath pushed from his chest, cold and rising. He moved from room to room. The living room cushions perfectly fluffed. No snack wrappers. No storybooks. Upstairs, Sophie's room looked untouched. Ella's dolls were still lined up in neat rows. The master bedroom was chilling in its perfection. Closet doors open, empty hangers swayed. He stepped inside and reached for the closet light. 2 suitcases were missing. Her shoes were gone. Jewelry boxes empty. Only his side looked the same. And then he saw it. An envelope, thick white, laid precisely at the center of his mahogany desk. As if placed with intentional care. His name, Nathan, written in Lena's flowing, unmistakable cursive. His heart thudded like a slow drum. He opened it, hand shaking, and the world inside him cracked open. Nathan, if you're reading this, I've already gone. Please don't panic. The girls are safe. We're at my parents' vineyard in Napa. I couldn't face you. Not with this much guilt inside me. There's no way to soften it. I cross a line I can't uncross. It started as friendship. You were always away. I felt like a ghost in my own house. Invisible. Travis, you remember him from the club? He noticed. We talked and then it became something else. I didn't plan it. I swear it just happened. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for understanding for the sake of the girls. They don't know everything yet. And I want to tell them carefully, I never stopped loving you. But somewhere along the way, I lost the version of myself that belonged in this life with you, Lena. Nathan didn't finish the rest. He didn't throw the letter or curse or punch walls. He simply stood there staring at the wall behind his desk as if the house would offer an explanation. But the house said nothing. He sat on the edge of the bed and held the letter until it slipped from his hands. His chest was tight, not from anger. From the devastating clarity that the family he had built, protected, worked endlessly for, was no longer intact. He'd built Hale Grid so his daughters would never struggle. So Lena could have her art studio. Her time. But while he was building a fortress from the outside world, she had been letting someone in from the back door. No yelling, no blaming. He knew his strength wasn't in confrontation. It was in control. And right now, he was going to take it all back. Quietly, precisely, thoroughly. First, he called his sister Renee in San Francisco. Told her in a voice that didn't waver, "I'm coming tonight. I need somewhere stable. I'll explain later." Next, he packed, not frantically, thoughtfully. Like a man preparing for battle. Every suit folded, every document sealed. By midnight, Nathan had left the house where his heart used to live. But the war had only just begun. Nathan arrived at his sister's home at 2:13 a.m. just outside San Francisco. Renee answered the door in sweatpants and concern. She didn't ask questions. Not yet. She saw the exhaustion in his posture, the silent unraveling behind his eyes. She just opened her arms. He hugged her tightly. Not as a businessman. Not as a brother, not even as a father, just as a man who had been quietly broken by the one person he thought would never shatter him. By sunrise, he had set up in the guest room. 2 suitcases, his laptop, the leather-bound notebook he always carried, now suddenly empty of meaning. He spent the next day in robotic rhythm. Emails, polite calls, messages to his assistant to say he was taking leave for family reasons. He didn't tell anyone the truth. Not yet. But his mind was not still. That evening, sitting in Renee's backyard, sipping unsweetened iced tea, she finally asked, "Is it Lena?" He didn't answer directly. Instead, he said, "She left a letter, took the girls to her parents." It wasn't just distance, Renee. It was someone else. A man named Travis. Renee didn't blink. She was older, wiser. She'd seen this before. "You okay?" "I will be." He wasn't sure if it was a lie or a plan. That night, sleep evaded him. His body lay still, but his mind churned. He remembered everything. Lena's off glances, the way she hesitated when he'd say, "I miss you." The day she'd stay late at the studio, and he'd feel foolish for checking the time zones. She'd once joked that if he ever cheated, she'd take everything and burn his suits. But now, here he was, betrayed, and all she'd left was a ghost of a life they once shared. But as the days passed, something shifted inside him. The pain turned cold, sharp, focused. He wasn't going to scream or shame her. He was going to know everything. He started with small steps. He called an old client, a security systems consultant named Miles Carver, who had once helped a hedge fund CEO catch a double-crossing CFO. Nathan asked him casually over lunch, "You still have that investigator on retainer, the quiet one?" Miles smiled. "Looking for ghosts or skeletons, both." Within 72 hours, Nathan had a full dossier in his inbox. The investigator's report was brutal in its clarity. Travis Dalton, 38, divorced, a golf coach at one of the most exclusive private clubs in San Jose. Charismatic, charming, and deeply predatory, he had a pattern. 2 other women, both married, both well off. Both had initiated discreet affairs that ended in disaster. One marriage collapsed, the other went silent, likely settled privately. There were texts, photos, meeting records, and the most damning piece, a quiet warning issued to the club's management that had mysteriously disappeared from internal logs months later. Nathan stared at the printed evidence in his hands. Lena's name was just one more line in a long, dirty trail. Had she known? Had she believed she was special? Or worse, had she not cared? That night, Nathan closed his laptop, sat in the dark, and whispered to himself. She played me like I was asleep. But now I'm awake. He didn't call Lena. He didn't confront her. Instead, he called his attorney. Michael Langford, a man with gray hair, a steel trap mind, and the discretion of a vault. I want a file, Nathan said flatly. Are we talking amicable? We're talking surgical. Michael understood immediately with the prenuptial agreement Nathan and Lena had signed before their wedding. Ironclad and generous, plus the emotional and legal weight of Lena's letter and the Pie's report, Nathan had leverage. He wasn't looking to ruin her. Not in public, not for the girls, but he would protect what mattered. He would ensure custody leaned in his favor, at least during the transition. He would freeze joint accounts, protect his company shares, and pull back any trust fund scheduled to be released. He would cut out the infection quietly. And yet, despite all of this, the ache lingered. At night, he still remembered the mornings they had once shared. Her soft humming, coffee in bed, the tiny drawings their girls used to leave on the fridge, the family nights on the floor with popcorn and Disney marathons. How long had that Lena been gone? A week after the report arrived, his phone rang. It was a number he recognized. Alan Crane, a fellow member of the country club, an investment banker with too many opinions. They spoke briefly. Small talk, old times, the London office. Then Alan said casually, heard about Lena. Can't say I'm shocked. Travis has a history. Nathan's tone didn't shift. History? Man's a serpent. Thought you knew. Clubs hushed a couple things. They protect their brand, not their members. Nathan's lips pressed into a line. How long's this been going on? You mean with Lena or in general? Both. Alan hesitated. Look, I don't want to get into it. Just she's not the first and he's not worth a second thought. Nathan thanked him, hung up, then stared into nothing for a long time. Lena hadn't just slipped. She'd walked into a known fire, and now it was time to rebuild on his terms. The divorce process began like a legal chess match. Nathan Hale had played in boardrooms tougher than any courtroom, but this was personal, surgical, like he told Langford. His attorney moved swiftly. The evidence was clean. Lena's letter, the photographs, her confession, and Travis's documented pattern made it impossible to refute. The prenup held strong, giving her a decent settlement. One she wouldn't be able to fight. But Nathan wasn't focused on the money. He wanted custody, not to punish, but to protect. His daughters were his heart, his blood. And even if Lena had never been cruel to them, her judgment had faltered. If she could invite a man like Travis into their orbit, what else might she overlook? Langford advised a go quiet, strategic, no public claims, no press. Nathan agreed, but he also made one request. Make sure everything that matters stays in my hands. And Langford did just that. In private, Nathan monitored Lena through mutual contacts, old friends, even his sister, who still knew people in their shared circles. He began piecing together her post-separation life. She hadn't returned to Travis. That much was clear. She was living in her parents' guest house in Napa, going to therapy, avoiding the country club, and barely speaking to friends. The shame of it all had stuck to her skin like oil. She still took the girls to ballet and piano. She still smiled in public, but it was hollow. Nathan didn't feel satisfaction watching her fall. Only confirmation. She knew what she'd done, and yet he couldn't shake a strange guilt. It was the small things, memories with no defense, like how she used to leave notes in his laptop bag before big meetings. How she'd once driven 4 hours to bring him a scarf during a cold London winter. The Lena from those days felt like someone else entirely now, a ghost with her face. One afternoon, as he was walking Sophie to the park, she asked, "Daddy, why don't you live with Mommy anymore?" Nathan paused. He knelt to her level. He didn't flinch because sometimes grown-ups stop walking in the same direction. And even if they still care about each other, they have to take different roads. Sophie stared at him. Did Mommy get lost? The question struck him like lightning. He smiled gently, nodded. Maybe, but I'm still right here, and I'm not going anywhere. She hugged him tightly. That moment, he knew it was more powerful than any courtroom battle. The girl stayed with him every other week. He kept their schedule stable. Drop-offs, dance class, dentist appointments. He changed his calendar for them. His assistant was instructed not to book anything before 10:00 a.m. or after 4:30. He wasn't just a father now. He was present. And slowly that presence became his strength, but something inside Nathan still burnt. Not rage, not grief, a craving for clarity. So he dug deeper. He asked Langford to pull the confidential club report. The one the investigator had referenced. It had been buried, sealed, but Langford had contacts. A week later, he received it. The document was disturbing. It detailed a pattern of coercion. Travis Dalton had charmed, seduced, and ultimately blackmailed multiple married women. He would gather photos, record conversations, hold private messages, then threaten to expose them unless he was given money or gifts. One woman had given him her husband's Rolex. Another a $30,000 loan, never repaid. And Lena, she had given him nothing, which meant one of two things. Either she escaped before he could trap her, or she had willingly gone along and just never spoke of it. That uncertain nod at Nathan, and then fate delivered something unexpected. During a business trip to Seattle, Nathan was checking into his hotel when a familiar voice said, "Mr. Hale." He turned. A tall man in a bellhop uniform. Mitchell. It was a former employee from the country club, someone Nathan hadn't seen in years. They shook hands, exchanged stories, but Mitchell's tone darkened when Nathan mentioned his divorce. "You know Travis got fired, right?" Nathan paused. "No." "What?" Mitchell leaned in. "Not just the affairs. There were rumors he cornered women, pressured them, even got physical once. Nothing proven. Club hushed it all, but I saw things." Nathan clenched his jaw. Did Lena know? Was she involved in that? Mitchell looked nervous. "I don't know. She looked shaken one night after hours. Locked herself in the yoga room. That was right before she stopped showing up altogether. That night, Nathan couldn't sleep. What if he'd been wrong? What if Lena hadn't betrayed him entirely, but had been manipulated, cornered, even frightened? Was her letter an apology or a cry for help? On the flight home, Nathan stared out the window for hours. Maybe she hadn't confessed everything. Not because she didn't care, but because she couldn't face it. Shame had many masks. And silence was often its loudest one. But even if Lena had been preyed upon, she had still walked through that door, chosen that secrecy, risked their family. She had still lied. He landed with one decision. He would confront the truth, but not with words, with action. If Travis was a predator, he wouldn't just be fired and forgotten. Nathan would expose him, not publicly, but precisely. And Lena, she would finally see the full picture of the man she chose and realize exactly who she lost. Nathan's next moves weren't loud. They were surgical. He didn't want drama. He wanted results. His pain had evolved from heartbreak to something colder, clear, calculated. It wasn't about punishing Lena with humiliation. It was about making sure she saw with brutal clarity what she chose over him and what she lost forever. Step 1. Travis. Nathan hired a compliance firm, one that specialized in executive vetting and private asset audits. He didn't tell them why, just gave the name Travis Dalton, cross-reference all financial and legal records. Quietly, the goal wasn't to destroy him in the headlines. It was to undress the illusion he used to fool wealthy, vulnerable women. What came back was exactly what Nathan had expected and more. Travis had leased a luxury vehicle under a fake business name, defaulted on multiple rent payments, and had 2 sealed settlements against him from previous lawsuits, financial coercion, harassment. One included a non-disclosure agreement signed under pressure. Nathan didn't go to the police. He went to the country club board. Not publicly, privately. Langford arranged a confidential meeting with 3 senior board members who took this sort of thing very seriously, especially with recent pressure about internal scandals. Nathan didn't raise his voice. He simply laid out the files, the settlements, the known predatory behavior, and one final document, a letter from Lena. Her handwriting, her admission. "She's not pressing charges," Nathan said calmly. "But if he's still teaching women there, especially married ones, your liability risk is nuclear." Within 48 hours, Travis Dalton was banned. His access revoked, and the club issued a quiet notice to all female members about enhanced safety protocols. Travis was done. Step 2, Lena. Nathan didn't call her. He didn't ask for a meeting. Instead, he let the silence do the work. That next week, when Lena came to pick up the girls for her parenting weekend, she noticed Nathan's tone was light but distant, cordial but colder than before. At one point, while buckling Sophie's seatbelt, she said softly, "I heard Travis was removed from the club. Do you know why?" Nathan didn't even turn. "Why don't you ask him?" She froze. The words hit like a slap. Clean, sharp, and deserved. Later that night, Nathan received a message from her. "Was it you? Did you have something to do with what happened to him?" He didn't reply. The silence said everything, and slowly Lena began to unravel. Not in public, but in private ways. She missed 2 of Ella's practices. Showed up to a school event late. One of her friends, Olivia, texted Nathan privately. "She's not okay. I think she's realizing everything too late." Nathan read it twice, then deleted it. She would have to live in the house. She hollowed out with her choices. He, on the other hand, was becoming whole again. Not just professionally, though his new green tech project had just secured seed funding from 2 Silicon Valley backers, but personally, he was reading to his daughters every night, cooking breakfast, walking them to school. Living, not just existing. One night, as Sophie curled up next to him on the couch, she whispered, "You smile more now, Daddy." And that broke him for a moment. He kissed her forehead. "That's because I finally see what really matters." Lena's silence stretched for weeks. No long messages, no confessions, just brief coordination about school pickups, clothes, medicine, emotionless. But then, without warning, she requested a face-to-face meeting. Not his house, not a hers. At the park bench where they first met 15 years ago. Nathan agreed. He didn't dress to impress. He didn't rehearse anything. When he arrived, Lena was already there. Eyes tired, shoulders dropped, makeup minimal. Her pain wasn't styled. It was raw. "I'm not here to beg," she began. "I just need to say what I didn't say in that letter." Nathan nodded once. "Go ahead," she looked down. "It wasn't just loneliness. I thought you wouldn't notice. I convinced myself it wasn't real until it became real. And by then, I was already ashamed." She looked up. "I know you took him down. Thank you for that. Not for me. For the others." He didn't flinch. "Was it real for you?" Lena hesitated. "No, I thought it was, but it was just a mirror. He reflected what I thought I was missing, but it was fake. All of it. Nathan stood. He didn't need to hear more. You broke something you can't glue back, Lena. But I'll always respect you as the mother of my daughters. That was all he said. That was all she deserved. He walked away. And for the first time since she left, she didn't follow. Lena never responded to Nathan's last words. She didn't text, didn't call, but something in her shifted after that meeting, and Nathan could feel it, not through words, but through patterns. She began showing up early to school events. She helped the girls with their science fair displays, their book reports, their Halloween costumes. But there was a stiffness to her presence, as if she were trying to be two people at once. The one who failed and the one still trying to matter. Nathan never interfered. He didn't praise her. He didn't criticize her. He simply continued to live better. That was the real revenge. It wasn't humiliation or scandal. It was peace. It was presence. It was showing her exactly what she threw away. Not in one explosive moment, but in daily routines that were now only his. He built a new rhythm, one grounded in honesty, parenthood, and balance. He invested in a green tech startup, not because it was profitable, but because it felt right. He began mentoring younger founders. He declined high-profile speaking gigs in favor of being available for piano recital and teacher conferences. One Thursday afternoon, while dropping off the girls at Lena's, Sophie ran back to the car to grab her project. Lena stood on the porch, arms folded, eyes watching Nathan in that quiet way only people with unresolved guilt do. "You look different," she said. Nathan turned to her. Calm, measured. "I am." She nodded slowly, then with a voice barely above a whisper. "I was wrong about everything." He didn't reply. He didn't need to because the difference between them had become crystal clear. Lena lived in regret. Nathan lived in clarity. That weekend, Nathan took the girls on a simple trip. Not to a luxury resort or a Disney park, but to a lakeside cabin. Just the three of them. They fished. They grilled. They sat around a fire and told stories. That night, as he tucked them in bunk beds, Sophie whispered, "This is my favorite version of you, Daddy." And he knew what she meant. This version wasn't hurt. This version wasn't bitter. This version had been forged through betrayal and come out stronger. Weeks later, an unexpected call came. It was from a journalist at a private publication that covered high-end country clubs and business scandals. Asking if Nathan had any comment on the quiet dismissal of Travis Dalton, Nathan said only this: "No comment, but maybe the men who protect predators should look in the mirror before asking the wrong people for a quote." He hung up and that was that. No article followed. The silence was deafening and perfect. Later that year, Lena sold the house in San Jose and moved to a smaller rental closer to the girls' school. Her art gallery quietly closed. The buzz around her name faded. She became just another name in PDA emails and after-school sign-ups. Nathan didn't hate her, but he didn't look back either. His focus stayed where it belonged. Forward. One spring afternoon, as he stood on the sidelines of Ella's soccer game, a woman approached him. Kind smile, warm eyes, a quiet confidence in her voice. Her name was Claire, a school counselor, divorced, soft-spoken, gentle. They began talking during halftime, then again after the game, then again the week after. Nathan didn't rush anything. He wasn't seeking to replace what he lost. He was simply open to whatever came next. Months passed, his home filled with laughter again. Not loud, chaotic laughter, but real healing joy. The kind that doesn't need to be forced. Claire met the girls slowly, respectfully. Lena noticed and said nothing. She didn't need to. She knew Nathan had won. Not by taking something from her, but by reclaiming himself. The last time they spoke face to face, it was brief. A school event. Lena walked up beside him as the children performed on stage. "They still talk about how much they love their weekends with you," she said quietly. Nathan gave a slight nod. "I'm happy for you," she added. "For everything you've built since." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to because Nathan had already written the ending, not in words, but in how he lived. And in that moment, watching his daughter sing under the gym lights beside a woman who respected him and a past he no longer needed to carry, he realized something simple, powerful, and final. Some betrayals don't need revenge. They carry their own consequences. And the man Lena had let go, he had never really left. He had just been waiting in silence to rise.